for any of our three candidates, or all three candidates, to please either raise your hand or come forward. Ask them whatever question you like, just make it polite and, if at all possible, brief. And the candidates will be given an allotted time to answer your question and then, if necessary, respond. Is there anybody that has a specific question for our candidates this evening? Please come up.
This question is for everybody. I've sat here for the last hour and I've listened to about graffiti, cleanup, what I'm going to do for our teenage kids that are riding skateboards. I think we have a more serious issue in Ward 2, and that is the flooding issue. In October of last year, there was many families, many homes that were destroyed by, I feel it's negligence on the city's behalf. And I would like to hear your opinion on it.
Since this is for all three candidates, you will each have 2 minutes to respond. Why don't we start on the left-hand side with Mark.
Thank you. I think that's a great question. We're up here and we're responding to the questions that were asked of us here by the Herald. And certainly we're not saying that there aren't other questions that are as important, or in this case, far more important than some of the things we were talking about, extreme sports parks, sponsorship of a pool, that sort of thing. I think it's incumbent upon the city to do everything within its power to ensure that the infrastructure, storm drains, catch basins, that sort of thing, that they're performing at peak efficiency. The city should also ensure the waterways are clear of the debris, anything that's going to cause floodwaters to not go their normal way and perhaps expand into someone's backyard, or worse, someone's basement or first floor. I would like to correct the record, Mr. Castellone, a PRA cleanup. I was at one of your cleanups. I have photos, they're out there to prove it. So I've also done cleanups for Earth Day as well. But getting back to the flooding, certainly the city it's incumbent upon the city to do everything they can to fix that. I also believe that a revolving fund should be created that provides rapid zero-interest loans to residents to cover immediate needs in the event of flooding. Something, it's almost like a gap insurance. Certainly that we can use some of the monies that we have in accounts that are not being used, use that as sort of a gap insurance to help people get on their feet. Whether they use that for incidental expenses or getting ServPro in there to do immediate work, that's something I believe in very, very strongly. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, that is a serious issue, and it seemed it's going to be flood prone ever since there was that one serious flooding. I mean, that rose, unbelievable. I mean, even it went all the way to the field. I mean, Aqueduct 2 was fully covered, and I just couldn't believe what had happened down there with all those families, their personal belongings being trapped in there for hours and hours, and a lot of the issue, not to get away from the flood issue, what needs to be done to alleviate that. What can be done? But with the city, we need to work together to make sure that there are plans in place. I was walking down in that area and I walked behind them, but one of the residents told me that they were in their house for like 9 hours, and then they finally had after they called 911 because of the gas, the fumes. So I mean, I don't know if the city wasn't prepared in my eyes enough to handle what happened down there, and that has to change. We need to be proactive and find solutions that we're going to be able to find a place for them for shelter, their misplaced homes. And I don't think it's something that they can get immediate take out a loan right away. I mean, this is stuff, emergency stuff to get them to safety. And I think that we need to work on that. As far as the flooding that goes on down there, I went down to, I walked, there's the Picasset down there, and that's full of debris. I mean, it's just, there's tree limbs down there, the sill is high. I mean, I think that we need to work with elected officials in the state level, the General Assembly, because I think we need help to, whether it's the Army Corps of Engineers, to come down there, and that needs to be dredged. And at least let's find out, let's start a little bit at a time and see if we can just alleviate that problem down there.
Thank you, Elizabeth. To rebut my friend Mark's question, Mark was at a cleanup. That was in Warwick. It wasn't in Cranston. This is about Cranston. It's always the same old rhetoric about what we're going to do, what we're going to do, what we're going to do. I'm tired of all the talking. Talking never gets things done. I'm talked to death. We need to hire experts in the city that can solve these problems, come back to the city council with their specific recommendations as to how they can solve this problem and end the flooding. How much will it cost? Only this can we begin to figure out how we can pay for it, whether it be federal, state, or city money, or a combination of all. The only thing we know is we have to deal with it and fix it, because people's homes will be destroyed again.
Does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask? Please come forward.
Hello. As a future council person, how would you better work with the school committee for the betterment of our children's schools? Thank you.
As addressed everybody? 2 minutes apiece, starting with Amelia.
Need to build relationships with the school committee, with them, and let them be involved in those meetings as well, and get a good pulse of what's going on and what's discussed. And I'd like to make sure that our constituents in those neighborhoods regarding the schools are aware of what is going on. What happened, again, the school closing, Horton closed, and I was very shocked that the perception to me was that the decision was already made, and then that's when all the neighbors of that area decided to go to the council meetings or go to the school committee meetings and say that they didn't agree with that decision. I think that if they're more informed of what's going on in their neighborhood schools, that something like Horton school closing would have never happened. When the people of the city stand up and represent and speak their mind for what they want, they're taxpayers, and they deserve, and with their tax dollars, they deserve certain qualities for Cranston families, for their children. And if Horton School would have stayed open because of the people demanding it stayed open, I feel that it would have stayed open. I mean, that's something that's already happened, but I think that communication needs to be there with the neighbors, with the constituents in the area, so that schools closings don't happen in our neighborhoods.
The past 2 years I've been to all the city council meetings. The city council has tried time and time again to work with the school committee to represent their constituents. The city council cannot work with the school committee. It should be called the teachers committee. The city council currently has no say in what the school committee does with their funding. 60% of the city budget takes care of the teachers' pensions and salaries. Some of that money should take care of outdated books, desks, chairs. We don't need federal grant money for that, whether it's free money or not. We need to have the city have more of a say in the way the school committee appropriates the dollars that are supposed to go to our children and our education. Thank you.
As some of you may know, I was one of the leaders of trying to save Horton Elementary School, along with Councilwoman McFarland, Councilwoman Fogarty, Councilman Barone, and other folks. I did not see either of my two opponents trying to fight to keep Horton Elementary School open. That's unfortunate. I know you must have been busy. That was perhaps the biggest thing that went on with regard to the school committee and how they operate. I think first and foremost we need to find people and encourage people to run for school committee who do not have any conflicts of interest. And I'm happy to say that the gentleman who asked the question is running for school committee, Andre Arusha, and he has the children first and foremost in his mind. He's not in it for free health care. He's not in it to get a pension for his wife. He's in it for the kids. And I think we need to find more people who have that type of focus on the children. We also need to have the school committee follow ordinances that are on the books. Councilman Barone sponsored an ordinance that requires, I believe, let's see if I can remember this. It requires posting for 72 hours prior to ratification of a contract, so that people can have an opportunity to inspect the contract. And unfortunately, that was just ignored. And that's unfortunate. We really need to have a school committee that follows the rules that are set forth in the laws that are set forth here in the city. And certainly we need to try to rein in the oversight that the school committee does not have right now. Spending money with impunity, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Maybe I should have said ahead of time to turn all cell phones off if you have them. Does anybody else have any questions for our candidates? A candidate, anything? Please come forward.
Just in a related question to the school committee issue, I'd like to know how you feel about maybe amending the charter to prevent the school committee from having unilateral right to approve a teacher's contract. And I laugh when I hear people, make this about the teachers. I know teachers have the summer off, but they're responsible with educating our children. I'm not a teacher, by the way. They're responsible with educating our children, and we always attack the teachers when it comes to the salary. But I just watched Warwick approve a contract where their teachers got 18.5% over a 6-year period. And, I had obviously contributed to their health care and whatnot. Now, Cranston got about 17% over a 3-year period. The teachers were surprised with the contract. I'd like to know how you feel about amending the city charter so that, that has to go to the state level, so that there can be checks and balances on how the teacher's contract is ratified.
Starting with Joe, please.
Thank you for your question, and there's plenty of validity to it. I think the city council should be very involved in the way that money is appropriated from the school committee. Again, this is not a comment to bash teachers. We need teachers. We need the highest educated teachers that we can afford. However, taxpayers cannot continue to over and over take care of a pension and the salary and continue to move our children to the public school system. Cranston has the finest public school system, in my opinion, in the state of Rhode Island. I would be in favor, as a city councilman, if this is law that had to be changed on the state, I'd be fine with that, and make sure that the city council could work closely with the school committee to make sure that the tax dollars that we put in to educate our children go where it's supposed to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Mark?
Thanks for the question. To back up just a little bit, I really think that a charter review commission is long overdue. I think that it's been many, many years since we've gone through that exercise. I think it's probably about time that we took up that exercise as well. It's important to understand that the school committee autonomy is granted by state. State laws govern what the school committee can and can't do. I believe it's section 16, but don't hold it to me. I've been reading as well. I really think it comes down to this, that the school committee can no longer be autonomous in the way that they spend everyone's money. I really think that the school committee needs to be subject to the city's taxing authority, or they need to become their own taxing authority. I think either one of those two things would create the oversight necessary to allow us to get a greater grasp of how our money is spent. Certainly, and I'm not picking on the teachers in any way, shape, or form. Quite a few of my family are teachers. A contract that's going to cost us $27 million over 3 years. Upon ratification, years 2 and 3, costs were not even known by the school committee, yet it was ratified nonetheless. That is reprehensible. It should not happen. It should never have happened, and it should never happen again. So certainly oversight is necessary and required, and I would certainly support anybody on the school committee who understands that it's everybody's money. It's not the school committee's money, and we have to treat it as such. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Amelia?
Thank you for the question. And I have looked at the charter as well, the city, Cranston City Charter, and the schools are autonomous. And I think the school committee, the city council tried putting it on the ballot in order to have the budget of the school go through the city council, and that failed. But it's the fact that it's been autonomous for as long as it has been. There's a reason for that, and again, just wanting to ratify or change, the city charter again, as Mark had mentioned, it's a state function. There's reasons for that. I think that it probably has been tried. Probably has been tried, but you're talking having something at a state level done. Every school in the state would have to. Every town would have to abide by what the state makes as a law, as a mandate. So I think they leave it up to the city as far as how they run their school department, the school committee, in the case of the city of Cranston. But again, I think just building relationships with the school committees, and making sure that they have the best interests of the Cranston families. I mean, we know there's only so much that we can ask the taxpayers to foot, and they got a 7% increase. They get their state fund level funding, so every year they know exactly how much they're going to get, and we just need to be more involved on exactly the monies that are being spent in the city and the school committee and how it's appropriated.
Thank you, Amelia. Does anybody else have a question? Councilwoman Cindy Fogarty.
Thank you, ma'am. Couldn't resist, since you guys are all out for my seat. You've answered a lot of questions about neighborhood issues since I've been here this evening, but a large portion of your job is going to deal with the finances in the city. The city is currently experiencing a surplus. I would like to know what your opinion is on that surplus and what plans, if any, you would take to either increase or decrease that surplus to all candidates.
Thank you, Cindy. This is probably the time to ask if any of you want extra response time. This is an option for the more complicated questions like budgetary issues. Is everyone okay with 2 minutes? Okay. I believe that it is Mark's turn to lead off.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fogarty, for a nice curveball. Appreciate it. With regard to the surplus, I think everybody in this room would agree that we got to where we are the hard way. And as such, we need to do everything we can to protect that surplus and make sure that whoever is mayor, whoever is on the city council, does not look at it as some sort of bucket of play money that they can use to put a little here, and put a little there, tweak the tax rate with this and perhaps see what's going on here. I think the level of the surplus is primarily dictated by the rating agencies, and of course, the administration, the city council has been working very, very closely with those rating agencies, making sure that the surplus is maintained at a level that is appropriate for a city of our size. It's a very good question, Councilwoman Flaherty, and certainly fiscal conservatism going forward is what's going to keep us from having to do the hard things that we've done over the last several years. We need to make sure that we continue to keep the city moving forward, and that's keeping a very sharp eye on how we treat the valuable things that we have to work with right now. So finally, to wrap it all up, we absolutely need to keep a sharp eye and realize that this money was come by very, very difficult way through many of us, tax increases, supplemental tax, and we need to treat it as such. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Amelia?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Councilwoman Fogel. The 20 million surplus is taxpayers' dollars. And I'd like to know exactly where that 20 million is actually working, because obviously 20 million is a good sum of money. And over time, whether it's a couple of years, 3 years, there's revenue, there's interest generated out of that 20 million. I would hate to think that we're trying to run a city on the interest that the 20 million is bearing, because it's taxpayers' dollars. And I've been walking the ward, and there's repair, there's sidewalks that need to be repaired, there's trees, there's a lot of constituent services that we need. And we can, whether it's, we need to find out exactly how much of that surplus that within a year it's going to get back to 20 million, because we can't just hold on to that surplus and letting constituent services decline. Just in parks and recreation, having some, knowing what goes as far as the budget there. I'm told every year that, our taxes have been going up and up, but they tell me every year that we're gonna have to do with less. And I'm sure that's just not in Parks and Recreation Department. I'm sure it's in Public Works. I'm sure it's in all the other departments in the city. We can't just hold on to that money. I'm saying we need it, but there's interest bearing. We need to know exactly how much of that grows, but we needs to come back to the taxpayer. We've been taxed for that. That's our money, and we should decide. Not lose constituent services just to keep that 20 million surplus.
Thank you, Amelia. Joe?
We have a city budget of $226 million. We have a funded pension of $20.8 million for police and fire. We have a surplus of $20 million. I don't want to be the elected official who wants to promise and tell you I want to spend your money wisely. I don't want to spend your money. If someone knocks on your door and they tell you they want to spend a surplus and we need to have a lower surplus, you need to think about that again. It's taken Cranston a long time, as a matter of fact, 4 years, to come out of the bond rating situation that we're at. The city surplus is a fund that needs to be in place for greater bond rating stature, so that, in fact, in an emergency situation when we need to have large projects, we can borrow against that money at a lower rate. A bond rating on a commercial level is very similar to a FICO score to most of us that carry a lot of debt on our credit cards. The less debt you carry, the better you look to creditors. This is not an account to raid. I have the proof, and we all know the proof. The proof is simple. Former administrations chose to take care of those things and raid our rainy day fund and take the money out of the pension and take the money out of the surplus. We cannot afford to go back to those days again. And I say it again, we cannot afford to take the money out of the surplus. We're in a good operating situation, the pensions are taken care of, everything is taken care of. We cannot take the money out of the surplus. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.